Welcome to the Ackerman Alliance Daily Show, your daily dose of things you need to know, and probably some things you don't.
Well, it's been a few days, hasn't it? Haven't been back. No, I have been back. I haven't been live streaming. And there's a reason. I haven't been live streaming because, one, I'm having some internet difficulties, and two, I just had some things I had to work out. But tonight, I hope I don't go too long tonight, because I've got some things I want to discuss tonight that I'm just brokenhearted. I mean, broken freaking hearted. I realize that we had a political showdown. Kind of the first political showdown of my life. First election I remember is Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter. I remember people getting a little heated there. Stuff happening. People getting mad at one another. But for most of my life, we didn't talk politics. And you guys know why. And if you've followed any of this, which since I'm still not getting anybody to watch it, it just reinforces with me what's going on. It reinforces with me that I'm pretty confident that my ex-wife's sister, who was a well-paid bureaucrat for the federal government, and I think her entire job, I literally think her entire job was in place to travel around the country with a government credit card and help women destroy men. Like, I think that's what her office did. I think that's what her department was. She was weaponized straight from the federal government to take out conservative men. I mean, I kind of have the receipts. I mean, I was an attempted takedown. When you go, I mean, look at where we're at right now. We are literally in the same place that we have been in for, 8 years? I mean, we go Trump for 4. My business cannot work. My business that I launched in 2016 was doomed from the start. We were blacklisted. The lead partner, which was a Seattleite, high-powered Democrat. I mean, he got a lot of Democrats elected, let's just say that. On the Grammy board, Mr. Cool Guy. He was a longtime family friend. I looked up to him for a lot of years. When I was like 15, he was like 22. And we start this business together. And I run this thing. And I mean, I run this business for 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Nobody else could have gotten this business off the ground. Nobody. And I did it. And I sacrificed my marriage. I sacrificed my health. I sacrificed a ton for this business. And what I really ended up getting out of it was a lot of experience. I mean, I do have a tendency to look at the bright side of things. I don't like to look at, if you dwell on just all the misery, you're gonna shrivel up and die. That's just it. That's just the way it goes. So I try to look at the bright side and say, okay, what did I learn? What did I take from this? What can I take to my next venture? And what I can take is I'm definitely not getting married again and probably will never date again. I'll do my best to end it. My problem is this. What do we do? Does anybody out there know any men or fathers or kids who are victims of a Republican takedown, a cancellation of a conservative voice? Maybe the parents, like in my case, my wife and I, the mother of my children, her parents, I thought her stepfather, who we spent the majority of our time with, we were kind of best friends with her parents, for a lot of our relationship. And our kids, they had them as grandparents. We saw them on every holiday. I mean, it was their life. Our kids got a real crappy end of the stick. You see, they canceled me. I was in one of these precarious situations where I didn't think politics divided people like they do today. We grew up, we didn't talk about it. I'm not going to go into this real deep because you've heard me talk about this before. But I was running a business for a friend from Seattle, very well known for his political ventures. He was the guy who helped the governor get elected. He was the guy who helped the King County executive get elected. He's one of those guys who probably had a lot of money stuffed in his pockets for doing favors and backdoor deals and whatever. But I ended up running this business for them, and he got taken out. Like he had 7 or 8 women come forward and claim sexual assault. The business ended up just essentially blowing up. And I put in a ton of effort into this business. I got into 2 car accidents while I was running this business. I mean, it was just chaos. And at the end of it all, I didn't get to have any social time with any friends for like 2 freaking years. I coached football. I was doing everything I could do to keep my family afloat, keep the business afloat, keep the kids in their schools. And just out of nowhere, one day, my wife walking by says, "I can't believe you voted for Trump." And then that's when it started. That's when it all started. That's when a divorce came into play. That's when people kind of slowly started turning their back on me, and nobody would talk to me. My friends wouldn't talk to me. Nobody would help us get through the difficult times. I mean, you guys have all heard this before. But like I said, there's probably nobody on this, because somehow between the liberal Democrat, Seattle politics guru, music industry scumbag, and my second wife's sister, I have been canceled. In fact, I can't even get a job anymore. And this is what I want to talk about. Really, this is my point tonight. I have had 3 really good fitting job opportunities that my resume should totally get. 100%. But all 3 times when I've been pushed on to interview number 2, when they've said, "Okay, absolutely, we want you to come. We'll get back to you with an interview date. So-and-so will be calling you." Every single time, a couple days has gone by. I haven't heard anything. I'll check in. Maybe haven't heard anything. Maybe a couple days goes by and I've been ghosted. Still haven't heard anything. And then I'll just get an automated email message that says, "Thank you for your interest. We're no longer, considering you for this role, blah, 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 blah." So that's happened 3 times. So let me get this straight now. Dad, husband, dog father, wasn't a cheater, wasn't a gambler, played golf, did my chores, did everything my wife told me to do. And she destroyed me. She completely destroyed me. For what? Well, turns out it was so she could just get away with it. Take the money. She didn't feel that good about herself. She kind of felt like, she didn't get a job. She decided to be a stay-at-home mom, but she never really did anything. Like, we had people watching the kids. We paid for an au pair. We paid for childcare. I was doing everything. I was even doing the grocery shopping. The only thing she did was the laundry. So I bust my ass for a divorce. And then Trump comes around and he's canceled and, I get remarried, fall in love like you've never seen in your life. I mean, I still love the woman. I do. I'm probably repeating myself. Anybody who's watched, if there is anybody who's watched all these, you're probably going to go like, wow, this guy's nuts. But this is the stuff that we must get through. Here I am trying to launch a podcast that's like talking about, like, let's forgive and forget. Let's move forward. Let's find things that we can agree on. Let's do it for the kids. I'm constantly calling people that it was very difficult for me to have a crossed up anything with anybody. Like, I never got into crossed up relationships or anything with anybody in my life. Friends, was friends with all my exes. Like, everything was great. Everything was and continued to be good. Always. But one day, it was determined that because I was a Trump fan over a Hillary fan, and I bet a guy 10 grand that Trump would win and maybe rubbed it in for a couple minutes, that all my friends, like everybody that I was close to, just suddenly just didn't have anything for me. And end of story. This is what's happening to Trump still today. It's just name calling and slander and rhetoric and garbage. And what am I supposed to do? I mean, many people have committed suicide. Men have committed suicide because of just, they're being canceled as conservatives. We got to cancel these guys. We got to cancel the conservatives. Is that really the agenda? Is that really the tactic that we're going to stick to? Like, that's your story and you're sticking to it? That's going to be all the way to the end? I mean, when I really look back on this, when I really evaluate like all the relationships and the people and the, the reasons why there'd be so many people avoiding me, it's kind of easy to do because, you see, I traveled as a profession. I was a public speaker, presenter, investment wholesaler. Like, I had a grasp on the markets and the economy and geopolitics. I mean, I had to do it for my job. There was nobody in our group of friends that could even touch the experience and knowledge that I would bring when it came to politics and everything about it. So why on earth would somebody want to have a conversation with me about that? And if they didn't want to have a conversation with me about that, well, then all they did was just pretend like I'm a bad person. Or maybe they heard, the rumors that I was a drug addict or that I was an abuser and all these other things that were spread around. And it's known, when my wife, the woman I met in 2018, moved up here, we got married, greatest love of my life. Still love her. I'll say it over and over. I mean, it is what it is. She was my last love because I won't be in another relationship ever. But because I brought her here and she connected with my wife and they spent time together and they went to parent-teacher conference nights together and we were trying to give the kids, like, I really wanted just to give the kids a decent, normal upbringing, like with no chaos or trauma or fighting or separation or any of that. Well, obviously that's not going to happen. Well, now, you get further down the road and now it's becoming extraordinarily evident what the ramifications for canceling me were. You start slandering somebody and spreading that around town or getting people on lists or telling people, oh yeah, he's this, he's a drug addict, he's an abuser, slander that. Eventually, you do just literally turn that person's opportunities off. I spent years working my way, like finding opportunities and running into mentors to get myself into a position, like to get a good job, which I did. And then that job was like, I may never get back into that business. I mean, I'll get into the business. I mean, I'm having to start my own business, which is really what I wanted to do in the first place. It's the idea that I had 3 years ago. It's literally, I came up with a concept and here's what I did. The concept was, what do my kids need? I'm never going to get married again. I'm never going to have a relationship again. It's me and my kids. What do they need most? They need to learn skills. They need to get outside. They need to have something to look forward to. They need to feel a sense of security, which they've not felt since the divorce. An unnecessary divorce, albeit, because my wife left me because I was a Trump voter. That's what she said. But then she married a Trump supporter, or she's with a Trump supporter now. So that story went out the window. And her mother helped aid in hurting my reputation. And now I'm thinking there's a possibility that my son, who worked his ass off, he was a COVID kid, didn't get to have high school, had no high school experience, none, smokes vape, smokes weed now, just like he's gone through his like chemical experimentation / mild abuse, pulled it together, and I have done my best to be there for him. But nobody ever talked to him about this. He went from having a full, tight-knit family, to having none. No family, no friends. The guy I was in business with, we had spent our entire, since 15 years old, we had spent that many years together. Our kids were raised together. Our families were raised together. And then suddenly Trump comes along and everybody just angles for the estates. They angle for the money. That, I think, is how you can tell the difference between a conservative and a Democrat. Is a conservative does not put money before people. They do not do it. I think a liberal, I think the Democrats that I know are the people that I couldn't have told you who the Democrats were in my friend. I mean, I could tell a few, obviously, but I couldn't tell you who they were. Now I can. Now I can easily tell you who they were. Because they're the ones who just have literally, there's no soul. There's no empathy. There's no nothing. It's all about them. Is it truly a narcissistic personality disorder epidemic on another scale? You obviously have to. What I've noticed since paying attention, and I've been paying attention for a while, really since Trump's first impeachment. And again, it wasn't because I was a big Trump supporter. I was just like, I'm a supporter of fairness. I am an advocate of fair. I have always felt like I've been able to put together a fair choice. I've been a good leader of people and a good manager. And when I was the CEO of the cannabis business, we had golf caddies and moms and kids, or not kids, but 22, 23-year-old younger kids working for us. I know how to make it so people get along. I know how to make it so projects get done and things get done. But it all means nothing if in the end we're not a team, we're just, okay, win. And I think the only way Democrats can win when it comes to elections is either cheating, lying, which we know that already happens, and just faking it all. I'm sorry I'm so negative tonight. Tonight has been this whole week has been a really traumatic experience, and I'm going to take a quick break. So, I don't know if I told this story or not. When I was driving home from California, so long story short, 2018, I met my second wife, the love of my life. We had a great 14, 16 months, whatever it was. And I mean, it was an unreal, weird connection. I still hope someday I'm going to finish the script because it is a love story. I mean, it is. I met her mother. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking. I don't know what I was thinking. Meeting a woman from the Bay Area whose family was just a big posse of ex-hippies, all Democrats, CNN watching, but I never looked at somebody's political affiliation and thought, well, that's not going to determine anything. Like, of course I'm not going to do that. I kind of ejected myself from what I thought the Republican Party was. My grandparents on my dad's side, which are the Christian nationalist, everybody goes to church, everybody's a little odd, and they cut us off. They cut our family out because we were not going to church every Sunday. So I said, screw that, I'm just going to be a human. I'm going to give everybody a chance. Well, I'm starting to think that there are a lot of liberals that just can't pull it together. Can't do it. They can't have empathy for somebody. They can't just do something decent. It's always about a game or a competition or who's in charge or I just gave out love. my wife moved up here with me, and she'd lost her job like 2 weeks before she moved up, and she was really worried about money. And, you know, we were engaged. I was like, well, we're engaged. Like, I got to pay your bills. Let's handle it. We're a team. That's all I ever wanted. That's all I ever wanted in a marriage. Ever. Was just to have a partner, a team, somebody you could count on and trust and, laugh with and go on adventures with. And that was my kid's mom for a long time, until she was a mom for too long. And then it just kind of slowly turned into a competition for some reason. I don't know. I tried to do everything. I tried to handle everything. Kept the sex life like top notch, always a focus. And it just came with accusations. Every time you want to try something new and, in bed, it's always like, oh, what's that for? Where'd you learn that from? Didn't learn it from anywhere. Like, what are you doing? So this is going to get real weird real soon if we can't just see where the truth lies. I mean, I've been going out to the beach every so often, and I met a guy, I've talked about him before. He, we come from different political backgrounds, and I don't even come from a political background necessarily, because I formed my own opinions about everything. And I just let my gut do the talking. I mean, I guarantee you, anybody, I guarantee you 100% promise that I can pick out a covert narcissist out of a room of 10 people. If you knew there was only one, I promise you I could pick them out. Hands down. I have been surrounded by narcissistic people my entire life. I have mastered the art of keeping them happy, let's say. It's very, very difficult to do. But besides that, on my way home from California, this is after I'd asked, after the second marriage, I asked for a divorce. And my kid's mother kind of encouraged it. Shocking that in the end, she really didn't want my marriage to work out, even though it was like parent-teacher conference night and, the girls were getting along, when really it was just, it had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with building a relationship for the kids and, trying to keep this thing together for the kids to give them some sort of a support system. It all ended up being just a who's going to take who out. Even my neighbors. Now, I did talk to my neighbor a couple days ago. I reached out to everybody. I decided to turn over a new leaf and kind of put myself out there. My dad's dying right now. In fact, he's not in good shape. And he had a relationship ruin him. I know multiple men who've just had relationships take them out. Guy who used to live here, suicide, conservative man. Wife ruined him. When my buddy found me, I was interviewing him for the podcast. I was doing a commercial real estate recording. Did it down at his office. Hadn't seen him in a while. And we got to talking and I told him, I said, God, yeah, I'm really, kind of just coming out of a really difficult period in my life, got destroyed, had women turn against me, don't know why. I guess it's because, I was perceived a Trump voter or a Trump supporter. And he took that opportunity to have me do some work here. And, I told him all about this, all about the broadcast, all about my, my advisory firm and everything I'm launching here. And it was great. It was perfect. Getting stuff done. And as some of you know, that just came to an abrupt end for reasons that are manipulated. And it's sad. It's really sad. Because is this what life is going to be? Have people just lost the ability to truly be genuine, moral? Or do they just want to be perceived that way? Do they want to be perceived like good, decent human beings? But really, it's just toxic trauma, super shock. What do you think? I know what I think. I'm going to keep telling this story. We're going to talk about this because what I am dead set focused on, and this will be part of everything the Ackerman Alliance stands for. The Ackerman Alliance is going to stand for supporting men, supporting fathers, stopping all of this political courtroom, family court, destroy the father. That has got to stop. That is not cool. I worked my ass off. Didn't plan on being the CEO of this company, but damn it, I was. And did an amazing job building this company. In fact, I was the reason that the whole extraction business could start in the county that I live, because I was the first person to get it through approval at the fire department, with the fire marshal. Once that happened, everybody else came behind us and got theirs approved, because now suddenly there's one in the county. But it was determined that I wasn't worthy of running that business, so we were blackballed. Now, I don't know for sure if we were blackballed because of the people, who were canceling me for being a Trump supporter, or if, it was blackballed by higher powers. I'll never know. But what I do know is because all of that happened, because nobody took the time to look at everything and each other like we were human beings with a goal and something that we needed to accomplish, because it wasn't like that, it got destroyed for everybody. And everybody lost. And I hope people look at that and realize, I lost my house. I lost my inheritance. I lost my mother. That's another thing. Family turning on another family member and justifying them as being a Trump supporter to justify you taking family inheritance or beneficiary assets or what is rightfully due to them when a family member dies, and abusing your privileges as an executor, a fiduciary, that, in my opinion, is a jailable offense. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen to anybody, because what it looks like to me is that if you're a part of the federal government on a particular side of the aisle, that you're allowed to just commit crimes, do whatever you need to do, lie, cheat, and steal. I mean, don't you admit that there's probably an unwritten kind of understanding amongst liberal Democrats that you can just get away and do whatever you want, as long as it's in the name of supporting getting rid of DJT. What happens when he's gone? Did they just continue that path? Is it just a continuation of let's just slander, ruin, cheat, and steal? Does it just continue that way? If it does, I don't think we're going to last long. I really don't. I am starting to get very, how do you put it? I'm starting to get very tired of the constant, like, oh my God, we're seeing this again? What are they saying? Like, no, let's focus on the problems. Let's handle the problems. Judges trying to stop Trump. I mean, I know you think everything he's doing is bad, but I lost my job. I lost my job in 2012 because of DEI, which then led me to get into the cannabis business, which led to this. I mean, I don't think I would have stayed at my job anyways for much longer if I hadn't have lost it, but still. The only reason me and 8-10 other people lost their jobs is because we were isolated as the leadership. More of the white conservative males lost their jobs. Good jobs. Trust me, good jobs. I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to, like, you shouldn't discourage somebody from having confidence to venture to greater places. Like my buddy's wife, she got caught stealing. She got caught stealing $50,000 freaking dollars from the checking account at Safeway as grocery cash withdrawals. And you know what she did? She didn't say sorry. She didn't say like, oh shit. She caused mayhem, scorched earth, and tried to helped in destroying me for helping expose the stolen money. Encouraged my wife to do more, go harder. Is that right? I mean, I feel like I should be able to sue somebody. I feel like people are literally out to get me. And my kids are getting the spillover. They're getting the spillover. And it's affecting them. And their grandparents won't even own it. Not good. Now it's just me and the dog. And my kids. But as we get this Ackerman Alliance project going, I mean, one of the good things that came out, like I said, I always look for good things. So you always got to take advantage of an opportunity, right? Some people, when they go to prison, they end up writing a novel or a few screenplays, or, Tim Allen went to prison and ended up doing what he did. When I had to go back to California, after my wife went back after I asked for a divorce, her sister and her went full bore destruction mode. Full bore. Restraining orders, claims of violence, claims of being scared. Like, oh my God, we're so scared of him. Like the standard, like, it's really pathetic how many real victims we're leaving behind in the future because of what we're going to have to do to clean this up. And I'm going to find men who come forward and we're going to expose this. It's ridiculous. But I wanted to get my rights back because I lost my rights to bear arms. So it was COVID, and I reached out to my ex and suggested we just talk. And we did. And I told her that I missed her and that I'd really like to see her, and, and she went for it. And long story short, I ended up going down there. She dropped the restraining order. We hung out in her neck of the woods, thought maybe let's hang out in your neck of the woods for a while and see if you feel more comfortable. So we did that. I did that for about a year. Wrecked my car down there. Guy hit me doing 65 miles an hour. It was just brutal. COVID, between the years 2015 and the last 10 years, have been brutal. I've aged more in these last 10 years than I did in the previous 20 years. But that whole time, what I didn't really notice yet, but I started to notice it kind of the last 6 months of being down there. I started trading in about 2013 on a pretty regular basis, but from about 2018 until now, I've been trading every day. Manage a portfolio, get up with the markets, do my analysis in the evenings, do my analysis in the mornings, manage a technical strategy with sort of a fundamental foundation, let's say. It is a pretty high risk investment. It's an accredited investment only. I'll be launching a hedge fund hopefully this year if things pan out, if I can avoid the bullets that are coming. But what was nice about that time period when I was trading is I made it very clear to my wife that I needed to stay absolutely lock dead focus on my charts, right from the morning open. I literally watched a 2-minute chart of SPY trade almost all day long, and how it correlates to some other investments and how those correlations give you indications on where things are going. And she became so abusive with me that I would love the hours that I was trading. I would just stay locked into my computer, and that was the one time. It was the 6 hours during the day I knew that I could just call mine. All mine. I mean, I still helped her when I needed to help her, but that's something good that came of this. Well, at the end of that year, after doing all that, I was also helping her grow her truffle business, which is what we were going to run when we were married, and we did run while she was married. But anyway, don't want to go there. The moral of this story is you got to watch for the signs. I ended up coming home in 2021. Early 22 maybe. Late 21. Right around there. And she was not being very nice to me. She was threatening to call the police. She was literally, if I wouldn't do something or if I was coming off, not providing her what she needed, her and her friends were conspiring at any given moment to just call the police. Call the police and say that I need to be removed. That was the instant decision. That was the instant oh, this is over. Well, we gotta destroy. We gotta destroy. And my question is, do all liberal women, Democrat women, Democrat voting women, do all women take that approach for a breakup every time? Because that's what it seemed like to me. Because it happened every time. Whenever possible. No dropping it. Our counselor got a hold of her and said, hey, look, there's don't do this to him. What are you doing? Nope, have to do it. Has to be done. Has to be done. Her sister, Jennifer Duane. I'm going to share her information one of these days. I'm going to stop being nice. I'm going to stop keeping the names anonymous. It's time to call some people out for what they've done. But on my way home from California, which I was only going to go home for like 2 months, then I was supposed to pick up a tree order and drive it back to the hotel that I had literally landed an $80,000 a year contract for my wife while I was in town. She called me when I got home and said that I'm no longer being paid for the tree order. Basically, she's saying I'm no longer being paid the $20,000 that was deferred for all the work that I'd done. Yeah. That's how she treated me for that. And then she told the hotel owner and others that I had been communicating with for her to help her get that job going that I was a domestic abuser and had to be kicked out of town. I mean, how long can one do that? Literally, how long can one take that approach to life before you just are considered completely fraud? You know what I mean? We can't do that forever. We literally can't do that forever. And it's like happening every single day still. People are dying. Let's get it a little better. Well, anyway, I've had enough of a rant tonight. I'm hoping this can be the last. Oh, the one last thing I wanted to say on the way home. What saved my life? What literally saved my life? Because I didn't really put the pieces together on the political cancellation until way later. I mean, 18, we got married, 19, 20, that all went down. 21, I was in California. And so I didn't really put the pieces together, even on my kids' mothers or the coaches' wives, or it all kind of started to settle in. Everybody just wanted me removed. They wanted the conservative guy removed. They wanted to slander his name and remove him. Luckily, when I came home and I was in a deep, dark depression, I literally thought I was going to die. But I ran into Johnny Depp's trial against Amber Heard. And I had no idea that Johnny Depp was suing Amber Heard for what he was suing her for. And it was crazy because what he was suing her for, and I watched every second of that trial. Every second of that trial. So many things, like my ex and I's relationship was similar to hers and Johnny's, just less all the violence. There was no violence in our relationship. There was some yelling. My wife was a yeller. My parents were yellers. I can yell if necessary to match if somebody's like bringing it on to me. It's a survival tactic. And one time her sister, when we were at my house in Washington, her sister called the cops on us because she was yelling at me. And then the cops showed up and she almost got taken away for a DWI. So that is why I will never be in another relationship. One, because I loved her too much. And we were too good of a match and too good of a connection. I won't find that again. Like, I won't. And two, I will never, ever put myself in another situation where a woman can claim that I'm being violent or doing anything weird. Like, I won't do it. I spent my entire life being good to women, being respectful to women, helping protect them, treating a woman the way you're supposed to treat them. To end up, when a man acts like that and has that much respect for women, to be treated like I was treated, I've got a lot of work to do to earn my respect back, to get my respect back for American women. I just do. I mean, what is it, like 87% of all Democrat, like, I don't know what the number was, but like 87% of white college-educated women are Democrats. And I can almost guarantee you, if I walked outside, walked up and down the street in the neighborhood and ran into 10 white middle-aged women in this neighborhood, they would not know one thing about what is reality when it comes to global politics, global economics, U.S. markets, what's going on with tariffs, why it's happening, what kind of pain we are in store for. That, I promise you. And there is nothing more dangerous than somebody who thinks they understand stuff. Nothing. That's called a narcissist. Narcissistic people pretend like they are smart. They use fancy words, or they just do this. Next time you're watching any political coverage, anybody who has to read from their notes during a speech, if you can't go up there and just wing it and have it just come out of you, if you can't do that, you're faking it. And if you're faking it, you're trying to make it. And I just don't think that's the kind of leadership we need right now. We need leadership that can stand up to the bullshit that's happening in the world. Because if we just let this go, if we let this just kind of do, we'll just take another office and do what we want with the money. There is so much froth and excess and BS baked into our markets, our real estate market, our stock market, our bond market. It is so unbelievably frothy with excess. And it will correct. It has to. If it doesn't correct, I don't even know what to say about that, but it will. So don't get too leveraged in real estate. Don't get too out there in anything. There's going to be opportunity to make money. I may start doing some trading broadcasts. I haven't quite decided yet. And I might just start broadcasting all day. I'm going to be out of here in a few days. I'm going to go stay with my dad if he's still willing. But he's not in a good place. I hope all you are in a good place, though. We might have got 3 people in here tonight. We will see you the next time.